What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Back outside Via Moto again. I know what you're going to say, you're always outside Via Moto. Well, there's a reason for that, because they always come up with the key goods. Today's no different. Less waffle, more action. Check out what we got today. That's right, 2021 model Aprilia Tuono 1100 factory. Now as we stand right now, there's nobody on YouTube got an English version of this out, or certainly nobody on YouTube done a road test, so yet again I have to thank Via Moto. There's Gary over there, come and see Gary. But these guys have been so good at supporting the channel, getting early access to bikes so I can film them, to give my opinion to you guys. If you want any Piaggio, Vespa, Aprilia, Honda, Motor Guzzi, you really need to come here, because I promise you they look after you. Come and see Gary. But yeah, can't wait to get on this. This is one of the most important bikes I think for Aprilia this year. What do you think? Right, this is something I'm very much looking forward to. Like I said to you on the intro, this is a very important bike for Aprilia. This is likely to be their best-selling bike. Well, let's go. What we're going to do is do a real first impressions, like literally what I'm feeling right now. I'll ride it for a bit, give you a bit more of a considered view, having ridden it for I'm going to have a couple of hours on it, and I've got this for a while now, so I'm going to go and put a good few hours and miles on it, and then give you a sort of roundup at the end. But what I'll do in between all that is I'll stop and we'll have a look around. I'm not going to get into all the specs right now, because I just want to give you an immediate impression. What do I think about this the first 10 minutes sat on it and not knowing a great deal about it? Initial impressions. So first thing I can say to you is the initial impressions riding out the dealership is way comfier than the old one. Way is a bit of an exaggeration. It's a lot comfier than the old one. That's what I feel straight away. If you watch my video up here when I rode the 2020 model, I was comparing that against all the other Super Nakeds, and although it was a great bike, certainly the fastest point to point, but my criticism of it was a bit too RSV4 and not enough Tuono, if that makes sense. Whoa! Yeah, it was a bit too RSV4 and not enough Tuono. And I didn't think it was super naked enough. I didn't think it was comfortable enough. It was too close in, too sports bike feely for it to be competing at that level. I felt that was my criticism of it, which was a minor one, to be honest. They've rectified that. They've raised the bars, foot pegs are different or moved. There's a few things that are moved, but the other thing I can tell you immediately is the fueling.
Look at that! That's probably, in the first few minutes, the nicest feeling throttle I've ever felt. No shit. That is gorgeous. From close to open, it's just seamless. What else? First impressions, big screen, 5-inch screen, bigger than the old one, much clearer, looks a lot more up to date, more information on there, and as I said, hallelujah, there's a fuel gauge. So there's 6 different modes as well, for race and road. I'll go through all those later, but there's different modes, configurable modes. I'll give you details on them later on. We'll run through the dashboard, everybody likes that. What else? It feels light, feels nice and agile, and I personally think that the looks of this are a much bigger upgrade on the 20 model than what the RSV4 20 to 21 model was. I love the inbuilt wings, the paint scheme's lovely, it only comes in this colour, so I'm told. It feels beautiful. Gearbox is lovely. Oh, that's one of the nicest sounding standard cans as well. Tipping in there. Oh, lovely. Oh, oh my goodness. There'll be a cutaway there, I'm sure. What? The mid-range there, oh my god. We're just in sport mode in a minute. I'm going to experiment with different modes. So yeah, first impressions are, wow. This is the best first 5-10 minutes I've had on a bike for a long time. The comfort, the standout first impression for me is I'm sat further up, I'm more comfortable. This is like a proper super naked now. I feel like I could do many miles on this. Brilliant. That's what I wanted from the Tuono. That is what I really wanted. Yeah, again, so comfort, fueling, again, another standout. Beautiful gearbox. The whole drivetrain so far. Wow. Build quality feels just typical Aprilia, gorgeous, lovely materials, everything looks brilliant. That screen really finishes this bike off now, finally. Wow, this is going to be interesting. Right, I'm going to go and ride this around, put some fuel in it. We're going to do the walking bike from the petrol station test on this and see what the looks of it, what I think about the looks of it. So let's go and do that. Right, first things first, let's make sure the petrol tank piss out test is not as bad as the RSV. Okay, holding that down full and it's not spraying all over the tank, so it's already better than the 2020 models. If you know, you know. Right, now for most of Motorbikes famous walking back from the petrol station test. Do I stare at it? Bike, David, bike. Yes. Oh my god. That is a much better looking bike than the 20 model. Bike, David, bike. Right, let's go put some miles on it, spend a bit of time with it, I'll check back in later. The torque from this engine is absolutely insane. 6 gear, oh! I've seen a lot of talk about why they've used the 1077 engine instead of the 1099 engine in the RSV4, and I think from what I can gather it's all to do with Euro 5, and with the RSV4 they needed to up the capacity to meet those regulations while still keeping the power that they wanted to get. They didn't with this. I assume it was tuned differently and they had a bit more room to manoeuvre. Oh! But what I will tell you is compared to the RSV4, this has got some serious low down grunt and torque. That is an arm pulling out the socket shit, that. Right, so another point I'll make as we're still figuring out the bike It's way nicer and more compliant just cruising around in traffic in town like this. So there's no heat coming off it. You're not having to find first gear and then just proper chugging along, feathering the clutch. It just runs along very nicely at low revs, smooth as silk. When you do need to get on the throttle, as I mentioned in the initial bit, the fueling is absolutely perfect. Look at, I mean, I'm just chugging along now, second gear, open the throttle gently. I can barely tell I've opened it, not a single jerk. So this sort of compliance around town is a much big improvement, a very big improvement. Christ, I can't even English today. The suspension as well, I've not mentioned that yet. I've got it in A3 at the minute, which is automatic mode, softest mode, and it's beautiful and plush. It soaks up the bumps. You've got the Olin CC2 semi-active suspension. We all know that suspension by now, it's amazing. But it makes riding like this, everyday riding, and with this riding position, it's still a little bit further forward than some Super Nakeds, but not like it used to be. It's enough now so it's comfortable, but you can still get on it and get on top of it. So yeah, again, the riding position and the look, third gear just chugging away now, 1,000, 2,000 RPM, no big deal. Not chugging, not sounding like a tractor, not labouring, kick it into second, perfect fueling. I promise you I am not being paid by Aprilia or Viamoto for this. Trust me, Gary knows if I think something's shit, I'll say it's shit. This is amazing. Just want to let these cars in front go a little bit. I want to hit these next set of bends with a bit of aggression. Gentle aggression, obviously. Within the realms of the Mexican laws. Okay. Right. That torque is unreal. The gearing on this is so much nicer than the RSV4 for road riding. Oh, it tips in quicker than I thought. Very nice. Oh. Jesus, this is capable. Second gear. Wow. And the gearbox is beautiful. So, negative point. I'll give you a negative point on this for the sake of balance. It is very, very difficult not to be a cock on it. It is a licensed loser. My goodness. Second gear. Whoa, 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 whoa. Bit of anti-wheelie. Oh my god, it picks up so quickly. The combination of the torque and the gearing, it's phenomenal. It steers in amazing. Keep it in third here, no need for second with this torque. Oh, it lifted the front wheel out of the corners. Side to side, like nothing. No effort. Oh, the punch out of the corners is just ridiculous. It's intoxicating. Oh, oh over the crest, wheelie. Mate, spent a bit of time on this now. I've got a bit more data gathered to give you some more information. I've hit lots of different sorts of roads, twisties, good ones, bad ones, fast ones, slow ones, dual carriageway, cruising around town. Right, let's start from the beginning. This is my sort of middle middle point in this thoughts, and then we'll go and do a walk around, and I'll give you spec chat geeks something to salivate over, and we'll take a look at the appearance of it as well. So not everything that I said at the beginning of the video has just increased. This is, at this point, I'm going to be guarded on what I say, but this is shaping up to be one of the best bikes I've ridden, if not ever, this year. In the last year, should I say, and I've ridden a lot of bikes. This is amazing. First things first, I got stacked up to the old one. It's got the old engine, but it feels different to the old engine. It feels faster, it feels more fun. The powertrain is so much nicer. And when I'm talking about the powertrain, I mean from the moment you twist the throttle, I promise you, I use this a lot, and I overuse it, and I know I do, but it is honestly like butter. Look at that, it's just absolute perfect throttle. It's easily the best throttle I've ever ridden. But the combination of the power and the torque and the gearing of this thing on UK roads where I've been riding it's just an absolute riot. And I mean fires out of corners, not like nothing else. Like the RSV4 fired out of corners, but like this is different. I mean, the gearing's obviously a bit to do with it. I'm sure right at the top end it won't have the same poke, but that's not what it's for. But the gearbox as well, the gearbox is super smooth. Again, one of the nicest. Aprilia have really got their shit together with gearboxes lately. The one on my 20 is a little bit notchy, it's not too bad, but this is just different. It's just seamless, look. And then that moves you into the suspension. The suspension in A3, which is automatic setting, but the road-based one is absolutely gorgeous. It soaks up the bumps, but I've just been throwing it into some corners. I've not even bothered to change it into the sportier one because it's just fantastic. And I've been on some really crappy roads, and it's just eating up these bumps. So the ride quality is amazing. The riding position, the comfort, much better. They've made a small, I think, raise to the bars, as I'm told. Seat feels a little bit nicer, a little bit more comfortable. Pegs, the feet position, it feels like a proper Super Naked now. It's a touch on the sportier side of the Super Naked. I'm still a little bit over the front, but not as much as the old one. Look, I was chugging away in 6th gear there, it's fine. Anyway, but it's so much more comfortable than the other one, which is was my number one wish for this bike, and it's nailed it on that. It feels special. It feels the screen actually makes a real big difference. It's not the best screen out there, you know. There's nicer looking screens. The BMW one's probably on the S1K is probably one of the nicer ones, but it really makes a difference. That colour, the clarity, the slightly bigger dash. I'm going to go through how you adjust all the settings in a minute, but it's got a whole new electronics package that we'll talk about when we do a walk round. It's got a 6-axis IMU. My opinions on IMUs and all this kind of thing, whatever, each to their own. I'll tell you all about it anyway. If nothing else, if we can't get to the limits of what the IMU is there for, at least it's a safety net, so it's positive. So I'll shut up about that. But it's got a 6-axis IMU. You can turn, which means you can turn off anti-wheelie and leave traction control on. So obviously I've not been pulling any wheelies on this until I went to the private roads in Mexico, but trust me when I tell you, this is a wheelie machine. I ain't going to be doing wheelies and massive mingers on camera, but you won't be disappointed if you want to pop the odd 3rd gear wheelie, let's put it that way. The handling is divine. It really is beautiful. I'm trying not to gush too much about this bike. I don't want to come across as some, Via Moto Aprilia shill, when I promise you I'm not. I'm just a little independent nobody talking nonsense, but I'm just giving my honest opinion of this bike. And I've panned some bikes before that I don't like, and I would have done this. But the handling is beautiful. It tips in really quick, faster than the old one, super stable. I've had it on some really decent quick twisties and some really bumpy roads. Never gets out of shape. I should have talked about the drivetrain. The power is just it's just amazing. Like, it's just next level. It's so fun. It feels, the gearing, it is geared to be like that, but it just feels like an absolute rocket ship. And you couple that with the sound out of this exhaust. There's been, again, a lot of talk about Acura, no Acura, whatever. This is one of the nicest sounding natural exhausts. It's close to my 21 Panigale, actually. It's a really beautiful sound, and it absolutely wails. Right, let's go and have a walk around of this, and I'll give you as many of the specs and fun facts as I possibly can.
Just sat here on my driveway, it looks way meaner, way more like a sports bike than the other Tuono. It looks like it's been built to purpose, with the belly pan down there and this front fairing section. It almost looks like an RSV4. It's just that little bit missing. I love these wings, these inbuilt wings here. Look at that, look at the detail on them. Fantastic. LED lights. This has got a Euro 5 compliant engine now. But what they've done, so with the RSV4, they increased the capacity to make sure they didn't lose the power whilst making it Euro 5 compliant. They didn't need to do it for this, but it keeps the same 175 horsepower, 89 pound-foot of torque that the old model had. But it also gets this new exhaust, which, trust me when I tell you, sounds amazing. It's got the Marelli ECU, same one that's in the RSV4, which also gets same amount of riding modes. You get 6 riding modes. This screen actually gives way more wind protection than what you think. Yeah, chassis changes. So the frame is the same, but the swing arm's the same as the RSV4. You've got this new MotoGP inspired swing arm here. So the price, 18,199, I believe. So you've got electronic suspension, as we talked about here. Look, this is the, you see down here, this is the Olin suspension. Front and rear, you've got the, we talked about the 6-axis IMU, but let me show you what that actually means and how we work all this on the dashboard. So, first things first, up here you've got Sport, using this button here. User, this is where you can configure it to your own preference. And Touring, which is a bit softer. I found Sport to be the best. If you put it in User, you can change all the settings. If you come across here and move across, as I'm moving across, you can change all your different fuels. That wasn't my average speed, maximum speed, by the way. You can change your traction control like the old model here, plus and minus. And then you can change all these different things. You can change the suspension from here. So you've got A1, which is the road, A2 Sport, A3 is track, basically, or slicks. And then you've got 3 different manual settings. And if you come across here, hold this. Now then, now look at this. This is like the RS660, where you can go in and change your, excuse me, you can go in and change engine braking, traction, anti-wheelie. So look, you can turn anti-wheelie off and leave traction on. Launch control, ABS, and then your stability controls. If you go into vehicle, you can change into race mode, which I would not advise you do. And then in race mode, it gives you track 1, track 2, and then race. And if we hold this button down again, now you can see these are configurable again. You can configure track 1 and track 2, so you can have 2 different track modes. So let's say wet, a wet mode, for example, and then race mode. But you can also, just so you know, this is where you change all your suspension. So these are automatic, but you can still tweak these and adjust the front firmness, rear firmness, braking support. What I found actually is certain corners on certain tracks I actually really benefited from me using braking support. End of the back straight, for example, at Cadwell. I actually, instead of tweaking the front preload anymore, I adjusted the braking support. So that was pretty cool. So come out of here, out of here, and then everything else is pretty standard stuff. So that's how you use all that. So you've got a really up-to-date, electronically wise at least, bike now. Compete with the best of the best. Yeah, I'm going to go and ride this some more now and give you my final wrap-up thoughts, but this is an absolute weapon of a machine. Just, oh mate. The way it just carves through these bends is utterly ridiculous. Alright, let's sum this bad boy up. Crikey, how do we start this? This is going to be a long video, I can see me rambling in this. Alright, look, this is pretty easy. This is the best bike I think I've ever ridden. From an all-round point of view, yeah, it's the best bike I've ever ridden. Not just this year, this is the best bike I've ever ridden. I've ridden a lot of different bikes. This does everything. You could really put this on track and proper cane it around. I've done enough spirited riding in the bends, both on and off camera, to tell you right now this will go well on track. The power is just amazing. It would run rings coming out of corners as some of the world's best superbikes. It would pounce out of a corner quicker than the RS V4, that I can assure you. Would it lose that down the straight? Yep, probably. But by the time you get there, on almost all straights, it's a moot point. Everything I said earlier in the video stands, and again, it just keeps growing on you. This is just beautiful. It's amazing. Oh God, I'm trying to give you a proper review here. I love this thing. There's your review. I absolutely love it. It's just phenomenal. In every situation that I've put it in, I've put it in lots of situations. Yeah, I've been on the motorway. I didn't show that actually, but I did hop on the M1. I had a GoPro issue, but I jumped on the M1. Long story short, there is buffeting, but it's okay. Look, you could tour on this. You could really genuinely tour on this. It's of a level of comfort now. That's the standout thing for me. So like, let's start this wrap up properly. That's the standout things for me are the comfort. It's much more comfortable than the old one, which, in my opinion, is a good thing. I think. The throttle, again, I'm a stickler for a good throttle, but this, the fueling, should I say, really, being accurate, the fueling is beautiful, and the connection to the throttle is just, it's like, it's telepathic, it's just amazing. The power and all that, all the drivetrain, from the throttle, the power, the gearing, the gear changes, it's unbelievable. It's super smooth, but it punches out. There's a massive like rush from like 4,000 or 5,000. It just keeps pulling and pulling and pulling, all the way up to the red line. The sound of it is intoxicating. This exhaust is just, for a standard can, it's amazing. And I've never gushed about a bike that I've ridden before like this. This is definitely the best bike I've ever ridden. Yeah. There's not much I can fault about it. I'm going to be really honest with you. The brakes are tremendous. The suspension is beautiful. I've played around with the suspension modes, and then, you know, again, you can stiffen it up, put it in track mode, all that kind of thing. Put it in touring, much more sedate, bit more of a gentler throttle, you know, really comfortable, and then bang it in sport mode, which is, to be honest, where you should just leave it. That's all you ever need, unless you go on track. And then you can put it into track mode as well. I've shown you before, and again, there's configurable options in there, so there's much more configurability than the old model. The build quality feels better, it feels more special. The looks, in my opinion, are way nicer. I think this is a beautiful thing. The old Tuono, it was alright, it was a bit ugly, let's be honest.
was a bit, it wasn't the prettiest of bikes. Put it next to a Street Fighter or something, but you put this next to a Street Fighter and it will hold its own. Now, Ducati Aprilia, which is better looking, I'm not going down that road. I love both, and I rate both bikes equally. The Street Fighter again is great. I want to test them back to back. My God, do I want to test them back to back, because I haven't ridden that Street Fighter for a long time, so I'm not going to do it a disservice. That being said, this is a more complete package. I think this feels more fun than that Street Fighter, but I'd need to do a back-to-back test before I sort of get the boxing gloves out with Aprilia and Ducati. What else have I missed here? Yeah, you've got all the tech on it, you know, all your 6-axis IMUs, everything's changeable, turn off traction, turn off anti-wheelie, you know, they're independent now, they're not locked in. You've got a fuel gauge. Hoorah! The tourability, can you tour on it? Well, I'm 6 foot tall and I'm 16.5 stone. I've lost a bit lately, I needed to, but I was 16.5, let's say 17 stone in gear. I've been riding around on this for about 3-4 hours and I am so comfortable. I could keep going for another 3 or 4 hours. There's no little weight on my wrist. There's a touch more weight on the wrist than a couple of the Super Nakeds, but that's got good reason. You know, it turns in and steers much quicker and more confidently than a lot of its competitors, that is for sure. Negative points, it's very it encourages you to I said earlier, but it really is hard to keep within the speed limit on it, because it's so much fun, it's so addictive, and the gearing is such that the power is so instant that before you know it, you're doing something stupid. Oh, look at that. Yeah, so that's, I mean, that's a some probably think that's a positive, but you need to just be aware that we're on UK roads, we've all got laws to abide by, and, you know, let's not be a prat. So that may be a slight negative. What else? I don't know. Choice of colours maybe. I mean, I'm stretched. I'm really stretched. I don't want this to come across like I'm some sort of sponsored Aprilia or Via Moto employee or something, because I'm not. They lend me some bikes, I make some videos and give them a shout out. It's literally that it. I honestly can't fault this. I don't like where the full beam switch is. Keep catching it with my finger. There you go. That's not good. What else? I don't like this reservoir flopping around here. Don't like that. That looks a bit cheap. I really don't know. I really don't know. I tell you what though, this standard can's great, but I would love to hear this with an Acca on. It would be disgusting. It would make you even more of a hooligan on it. But this is generally, you know, this is the ultimate hooligan machine, the ultimate bike, and in my opinion, certainly the best bike, in no question, the best bike I've ridden in the last 12 months, and in my humble opinion, and I am not an expert, I am, caveat here, I am not an expert, but in my opinion, out of all the bikes I've ever ridden, this is the best. Definitely. I need to go and figure out how I can pay for one now. Anyway, look, big thanks to, on that note, yeah, to pay for one, go and see Gary Fenton, sales manager at Via Moto at Sheffield. He'll look after you, I promise you he'll look after you. He'll do you a great deal, I am certain of that. But go and test ride it. As I said before, don't just listen to me. You know, don't just listen to me. Go and ride the things. It's really important that you ride them and make sure that it's right for you. Yeah. Oh my God, I love this bike. Yeah, thanks. Anyway, look, I'm rambling. Time to wrap it up. If you like the video, look, I really would appreciate if you hit the like button. It helps me out a lot. And if you do want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel. There's loads of reviews coming, not just Aprilias, but lots of different brands and lots of different sorts of bikes. There's some scooters and fast things and slow things and all sorts. So yeah, subscribe for more. Yeah, other than that, time to say bye. I'm going to go and take this Tuono off camera for a bit, shall we say, and then hand it back to Gary. But yeah, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.